Scottie Pippen has a book coming out. I believe it comes out next week, if I'm not mistaken. And he is going to sound off on some things. I'll tell you exactly when it's coming out. The book is called Unguarded, and it comes out November 9th, so next week. And when The Last Dance was airing on ESPN at the height of the pandemic, the beginning of last summer, my reaction as one who was around those teams as much as I was, immediately was, I loved the films like everyone else did. They were spectacular. But there's no question, they were Michael Jordan's telling of the events. They were his version of what happened all through that championship run. And I know that I made the remark on TV at that time, because I wasn't doing the radio show yet at that time. If I were Scottie Pippen, I would have been very put off by the way I was portrayed in that. Because they made a point of pointing out a lot of the negative stuff that Scottie was involved in, and in my view, not nearly enough of the positive. Look, the way they depicted Jerry Krause, there were any number of things in that I did not like. I candidly, I thought were wrong. They were Michael's telling of it, and if it's his film, he's entitled to do it. But I thought they were wrong. Well, Scottie Pippen is as upset as I thought he'd be. So people have gotten a hold of some of the snippets from the book. And here's a little bit of what he has said. He said in the second episode, which focused for a while on my difficult upbringing and unlikely path to the NBA, the narrative returned to MJ and his determination to win. I was nothing more than a prop. His best teammate of all time, he called me. He couldn't have been more condescending if he tried. Each episode was the same. Michael on a pedestal. His teammates secondary, smaller. The message no different from when he referred to us as his supporting cast. From one season to the next, we received little or no credit when he won, but the bulk of the criticism when we lost. That's just a little taste of what is going to be in this book. And the statement that I made about this, we talked about this a few months ago. I forget what spurred that, but I'm going to say something very similar, which is it makes me very sad as one who was around that team and got so much joy, A, from watching them, and B, who got so much from the experience. Like, there's no way in hell I am where I am today if it hadn't been for the Bulls of the 90s. Just no way. It makes me very sad that the person who was the second most important person in that whole thing, that's one of the great dynasties in the history of American sports. 6 championships in 8 years. Go back over the history of American sports, you will find very few examples of that. The Celtics, maybe the Yankees did it. That's it. I mean, this is one of the truly great dynasties of all time. And the fact that the person who was the second most important factor in it seems to remember it with such bitterness. He seems to take such little pleasure and joy in it. He seems to feel aggrieved. He seems to harbor this resentment towards Michael and maybe others. And Scottie felt, and this part of it was on display in the films, Scottie felt as though the organization did not treat him well in a variety of different ways, primarily financially at different times, and he was frustrated by that and all the rest of it. Scottie was not perfect. He certainly made his share of mistakes, and you saw all of them in Last Dance, and I think that's what he's upset about now. But he also was integral. I mean, integral. They don't win any of those championships without him. The only 4 constants in all of them, unless you count the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, were Jerry Krause, Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen. I think you have to say Pippen was the second most important one. Now, Jordan will always obviously be the best one. Jordan's the greatest player ever. But I believe, my personal opinion, is that Scottie is remembered appropriately. I think people do remember him as a great player, as an integral piece of 6 champions. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's top 50, top 75, all that stuff. So I don't think he's underappreciated historically, but he obviously does. He obviously feels shortchanged for the role he played, the integral, critical, brilliant role he played in what is the greatest dynasty in recent American sports history. And that just, honestly, it makes me sad. And I don't know Scottie well, but I know him well enough to say I would like to think that if I had been in the position that he was, I would be so grateful and delighted and thrilled. And I mean, he is celebrated everywhere he goes for those accomplishments. The fact that he does not seem to remember them with joy, I do find it sad. It makes me feel bad. And I hope he finds, forgetting anything else, I hope he finds a place inside of him that feels as good about what happened as he should.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.